In the morning. It is July 21st, 2026, and we have so much breaking news again. And really good news to share with everybody. Let's get on and see. Um, so much information coming in, and our numbers are showing that we are sharing uh, really the biggest news. And that's with being shadow banned. And also because we don't monetize. And when you don't monetize, they don't really push you forward. But if you monetize, you have to agree uh, to certain rules. And so a lot of your freedom goes away from discussing certain things. You have to be really careful. I try to be careful anyway. But yeah, so we just decided not to monetize. We're just giving you our son's case and what's going on at the southern border and and of course in Mexico. And with that, with all that truth, and you can tell that there's so much interest in that because so many people have been hurt by it, right? So many people have been hurt by the criminal trafficking. So many people have been hurt by the Mormon mafia. Okay. I can't tell you how many responses that I've gotten about the Mormon mafia, how so many people have been hurt by them. So this is a very, very big deal. We are on 2,178 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Because right there on Fort Bliss, right there in building 2479, because he was a whistleblower and his identity was leaked by the Mormon mafia operative Colin Wetton, who has infiltrated in our FBI El Paso field office. So, he comes from some big family connections there in Mexico. Essentially, he's really Mexican, okay? Essentially, he's really Mexican. Maybe he was even born in Mexico because there's a big chance he was born in Mexico because his family comes from the colonies. And I can give you the specifics, but everyone knows Colonial Juarez, right there in Chihuahua, Mexico. They've been there for what, 100 years, more than 100 years. They've been there because they are polygamous and they left the United States. They forsook the United States for polygamy. For polygamy. That just tells you uh, polygamy doesn't work out. And I can say that with absolute confidence because of our 6 year investigation. Um, it is not good for the future. It's not good for families. It's not good for the future. It is a very, very, it's not good for finances. It's not polygamy, uh, um, always looking for a girlfriend and a boyfriend. Um, it's such a betrayal all the time. And the outcome is, the Mormon mafia, like Connell Wetton and the character, the non character, the terrible character, the up to no good character of Connell Wetton with leadership roles in the uh, Mormon community, huge leadership roles in the Mormon community. And no wonder things are not going good, right? Because he's up to no good. It just really, really bad stuff when you're thinking about his transnational ideology, right? He has no respect for the Mexican government, for the Mexican constitution, for the Mexican sovereignty. He has no, he's from the colonies. They think they're above. I guess they want that planet before they're due, the extra planet that they've been promised in their faith or whatever. Because they have no, and I don't mean this to, um, you have to understand 6 years of just vile and vulgar criminality from these people. Okay. When you have no regards for Mexican sovereignty and you are thinking that you can just use a plane and go into Mexican airspace and lead and order an illegal, unsanctioned kidnapping of El Mayo and cause six, almost 17,000 deaths, 1,700 deaths. Okay. I think that's right. 1,700 deaths during that operation. Okay. That's not me saying that. What was it? 1,650. I have to look at my notes again. That President Sheinbaum came out and said that was caused by this unsanctioned, just rogue operation to go in there and get El Mayo. And this is the blood that Connell Wenton has on his hands. And he has the blood of my son on his hands because he leaked Richard's identity to the cartel. Because you see, he's because he's a Mexican Mormon mafia with no regards to Mexico. He has no regards to the United States. He has no regards for the U.S. Army, for the border, for U.S. national security or Mexican national security. They just, this Mormon faction, this Mormon mafia coming out of the colonies in Chihuahua, Mexico, they're Mexican, but not Mexican. They're American, but not American. They are a Mormon mafia. And his father was born right there, I believe, in colonial Juarez. I believe so. There's several colonies that they're from there. And, 10 children. Um, let's not ask, right? But 10 children. And, and then you have Connell Wenton that is uh, really responsible for Richard's death, for almost 1,700 deaths with the illegal operation, and then the Walmart mass shooting. Absolutely, that orchestration, and I would say because of that, he has Glendon Oakley Jr.'s blood on his hands. Um, having everything that we have documented with Leilani Hart and all her sworn affidavit for the facilitation of sexual exploitation and so many worse things than that. You have to go online to read it. And he doesn't arrest her. He's because she's part of the Mormon mafia. I was once told uh, that by a person that wouldn't want to come out and talk about the evil things that Leilani Hart has done because of the Samoan mafia. That's what they called it, the Samoan mafia. Put a lot of fear in individuals. But it's not the Samoan mafia, even though she's from Samoa, right? With Tavita Nusa and them. But this is Samoa. When you look up Samoa, it's like 60% Mormon. So this was a Mormon mafia. Okay, that's what this is, a Mormon mafia. And we have so much evidence. I've been saying it for years. For the longest time, I would just ask questions like, why is everybody Mormon in this case, right? Or this is the common denominator, this and funeral homes. Why? What's going on here? What kind of funeral fraud are they dealing with? And now we know, right? Now we know with group of purchase um, and with Plenitude Crematorium. And we know that through the COVID, with humanitarian aid fraud, with, uh, you know, flesh peddling these bodies and giving people um, pulverized uh, construction material and charging them for it, and calling it a dignified burial. I mean, yeah. So we know now, and we know that it's connected to very big crimes when it comes to the fuel theft, which in Mexico it's called huachicoleo, and then it got sophisticated because they were stealing fuel out of Mexico from Pemex into the United States, but then they wanted to, after they had their refineries clean up the oil, they wanted to sell it back. They wanted to sell it in Mexico, so they had to traffic it and smuggle it back into Mexico. And from Texas into Chihuahua, then it is called Huachicoleo Fiscal, because they forge the paperwork for it so they don't have to pay the taxes. I think they own, 10% of what they should have paid. If they had to pay uh, a dollar, they'd pay, 10 cents on the dollar. Um, so that it was all a really tax fraud, right? Tax avoidance, tax fraud, the word will come to me. So, but this is a much higher level of fuel theft. And then, of course, when you look at the family of the Alejandra de la Vega Foster, and you know that she owns gas stations in Chihuahua, Mexico, but her husband owns the refinery that's in Texas, then you understand, oh, let's steal the Pemex, take it over to Texas, refine it, then bring it back over to Mexico and sell it in the gas stations, or contract it out to Mauro Campos for the police department, like Grupo Carvel did. So, so this, and of course, in order to steal the fuel and all of that, you have to have the cartels and who's willing to do their bidding. Was it and I'll just tell you, it was El Chapo, right? Who was doing their bidding? El Chapo, the CJNG, the Juarez cartel, and they uh, did not get the cooperation that they wanted from El Mayo. Okay, um, so this was why you had El Chapo and El Chapo's son um, make an alliance with the Mormon mafia um, to with the El Paso cartel to illegally kidnap, have no regard, like they don't even care to go through the Mexican federal government. Um, they don't care to, they're using American taxpayers because they call themselves an FBI agent, but he's not doing FBI work. He's not doing FBI work. He's doing cartel Mormon faction work using a badge. That's what he's doing. He's doing criminal activity using a badge. And you can, and wearing a suit like, like he's legitimate. Um, and then using these planes from the Fosters, Alejandra de la Vega and her husband, and there's multiple. Think about it. How many planes does it take to go get someone that is a, a huge cartel leader that when he gets captured, they want him to pay forfeiture $15 billion, right? $15 billion. You think one plane would be enough to go get him? Like he doesn't have uh, like a little army protecting him? I mean, if for forfeitures 15 billion, that's billion, not million, and that's dollars, not pesos. Um, yeah, I think that this was a big unsanctioned operation. And I think it required more than just one plane. Um, and and it was absolutely a kidnapping because there what laws were behind it. There was no judge behind it. Um, there was no paperwork order. There was no legality to any of it. So you have to have an extradition paper. And then and you can tell that they flew him into El Paso because El Paso is where Connell Wenton can arrest him because he has a badge, even though he's working for the cartel Mormon faction, right? So they were, to me, from our investigation and the evidence, they were taking down their competition. So today, El Mayo was sentenced life in prison. You think it's over. It's not over because, this is between El Mayo and El Chapo. And it's going to be interesting to see who's making deals, plea deals, what the plea deals are about, and who is going to be. Look, El Flaco was just set free and he ran a war against uh, Ciudad Juarez in 2011, where 10,000 people were killed, and houses, people had to flee, and jobs were lost, and everything. And Connell Wenton with Steven Spitzer allowed him to walk, right? So, what's going to happen with El Chapo? Because this is really about El Chapo. Um, yeah, because the son absolutely came in with El Mayo to make a deal for himself and El Chapo for this arrest to take down the competition. That's my my opinion. I have to allege it. It seems like it because this was absolutely uh, well, once we start reading it and what we heard from the judge today, it just really it stinks. It stinks, and where it stinks, there's dead fish. So, we will see what all happens, but it's not what the media tells us it is, because all evidence leads that Maru Campos is an El Chapo proxy. She is the El Chapo fentanyl governor of Chihuahua. They work to um, make an alliance with the CJNG, with the Juarez cartel, with the El Paso cartel in order to Some want to have the oil, some want to have the drugs, some want to be the protectors like Lilinia, and then they want to have the the rocket launchers, the anti-tank. We need an anti-tank rocket launcher. Yeah, and I'm going to keep it in my bedroom closet, right? They just uh, arrested a couple that had an anti-tank rocket launcher in their house. So that is, uh, let's see, I'm getting all these messages and I will address them as soon as I say the really big news that I'm coming to, which is Maru Campos, with all of her sins, with all of her Mormon faction, El Chapo, fentanyl alliances, her El Chapo proxy, the whole w- you know, criminal terroristic organization that she is. Um, she just flew out to England. She just flew to London. She got out of Dodge, y'all. She got out of Chihuahua. She got out of Chihuahua because the day after the FIFA World Cup Final, which was so exciting because Spain won. That was really exciting that Spain won. Um, that President Scheinbaum, of course, talked to President Trump about certain situations and absolutely Richard's case. Absolutely about Richard. And it's a huge because um today she came out and proved, and of course this is at 1:13 in the morning, so we have the next day, but um I haven't gone to bed yet, so I'll just say today. I'll just say today because it's been a wild day, right? Because Mexican President Scheinbaum came out with just a nuclear bomb. It's just a nuclear bomb, for really that, she admitted that, yes, US intelligence agents have been working in Mexico and in Chihuahua, okay? And we know, because Maru Campos told us herself from her own mouth, and it's recorded because she went on a media tour to tell everybody that she had them on a secret payroll, right? A Chihuahuan secret payroll. She had U.S. intelligence agents, including the CIA, but not limited to the CIA, including the FBI, including the DEA, including the CPS, including, and this is not federal, but for Texas, the DHS, right? I mean, the DPS, sorry, the DHS and or the DPS, the Texas Rangers. Uh, she had a secret payroll that she had U.S. intelligence agents and also the DPS on. Um, she told us that. And now today, President Scheinbaum uh, admitted it, that this was a problem. This is what they have detected, that this is treason. I really believe that's why Maru Campos got out of Dodge because she's going to prison. And I think she's going to go to prison for like more than 40 years. And if they find that the blood on her hands is so thick, because just think of the whole Plenitude Crematorium, Richard's case, all of the trafficking, everything, if the blood is just so thick, they might not be able to put her in prison. They might take the very rare path of putting the death penalty on the table. And it's and this is why they arrested the one governor, right? They arrested the one governor from Baja California, that fuel theft and using rails for fuel theft. And now, we've got this crazy thing going on Fort Bliss to extend the rails to connect with Pacific Union that connects with the Mexican rails. You don't want that, no, because I mean, it would be so easy to just fill those tankers up with gas, with fuel and just steal it using the rail system. Is just, we just cannot do that. And then there's so much. You can put literally tanks on those rails, tanks and all kinds of vehicles and all kinds of big weapons and the fuel and everything. You just can't have that. Yeah, but that's what they're doing. But that's what they're doing. So, um, and here, President Trump absolutely addressed that at the FIFA, and you have President Sheinbaum coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, we've got rogue agents, rogue U.S. agent." Look, they are connected. They are connected, are tied to the Mormon mafia. Okay, they have no regards for the United States. They just want the badges. They want the DEA badge. They want the access. They want the access to files. And this is why they spent so much money doing the whole Torah Centella, because they want the access to harvest your data. They want the access to federal cases. They want access to information to thwart, to sabotage cases, to intimidate witnesses. We've been there months and months enduring intimidation and threats and everything. And that's why this whole thing with Canada, I had to remind everybody that we had months that these phone numbers were harassing us and threatening us. And finally, we had a break because we were able to um, trail where these burner phones. We were able to trail them and trace them. And where did they go? We were thinking they would be around El Paso, maybe in New Mexico, maybe, right? But no, they went to uh, Santa Clara, California, Stanford University, to a pie shop in North Carolina outside of Fort Bragg, went up to the City Hall in Toronto, Canada, went to the White House. Yes, you heard me right, went to the White House. One of the phones traced there. The other phone traced to NATO in Denmark, in Copenhagen, in a little town, went to Copenhagen and then to this other little town where there's the NATO base. The other place was Gimpo in South Korea, Gimpo, which, there's a huge American presence in South Korea, especially ADA, our son's unit. Um, uh, um, and then it went to and I've been there. I've been exactly on that street in South Korea where the FBI office is, right by the Anglican Cathedral. I've worshipped in that cathedral. Um, and you wonder, why is there an FBI office there in downtown Seoul, South Korea? But yeah, so we trace these phones, we turn that all in, and that's how the harassment stopped. Um, uh, the harassment immediately stopped. And but so Canada was part of this, and of course Canada is big in banking and all of that, and you're talking about a lot of money laundering. You name it. What are you going to money launder for? The oil or the drugs or the human trafficking, or what do you want to money launder for? um so because there's so much money involved in all this criminal activity. So yeah, and what did Trump do today to Canada? 50% tariff, because he drug out a really old law of favoritism, and it's because Canada on wine, beer, spirits, were carrying other countries, that are further away, other countries' products, but would not carry American products, and sell them there in Canada. So it was a favoritism and unfair trade practices in Canada, and President Trump put a 50% tariff on it, on Canada goods. So that was necessary because America has a country to run too, and you just can't play those kind of games when they're up to no good. And we know that they're up to no good. So, we have our own problems we have to solve. And that is this cartel alliances that reach all the way up to Canada. Um, and so today's announcement by President Sheinbaum that yes, U.S. intelligence, she called it irregular. Irregular, okay, instead of rogue, irregular U.S. intelligence agents have been there in Chihuahua, Mexico. And so you know what that means. She just said, Mauro Campos, I am not playing games with you. I am not supporting you. I'm not backing you up. Okay. So this was a huge day. There's lots of implications to it. The huge day with, of course, with El Mayo, which is a continuation. Okay. Continuation. The other thing that is really breaking news, too, there's so much going on, is that President Trump's administration just announced that they are reviewing cases where they take away the naturalization of the criminals. Well, I was so happy to see that because we've been fighting for that with Lilani Hart. They absolutely need to ship her out, or of course, could they arrest her and everything like that? But no, because she has, in a sworn affidavit, confessed to immigration fraud, child sexual exploitation, and worse stuff, worse stuff. So, there's no reason why she shouldn't be arrested. And, maybe with these new set of rules and how they're handling um, uh, all of this. Maybe they'll arrest her. She has lots of aliases, and they need to take away her citizenship. Maybe she can go back to Samoa, right, or American Samoa. No, that would be, she would need to be naturalized there, right? No, she needs to go back. Um, yeah, uh, she really, yeah. Well, I'll let them make the decision, but I'm putting it out there anyway. So that's huge news. And now let me read the comments. Yes, sorry. Is Greg Abbott a Mormon? I don't know. I don't know. Not a moron. Oh, okay. He is a Mormon. Oh, okay. But for Spain, well, Spain is really interesting because Mexico's banks are predominantly Spanish banks. Okay. Spain really is the number one banking there in Mexico. I think it's like almost 50%, and then like 60% of mortgages, um, and credit cards, Santana and the other one that I named last night. It's very big. So Spain is very important to Mexico. And of course, if Mexico is a narco state, if that's how their economy works, then of course Spanish banks would be involved in that. So that would explain why Spain is not too happy with President Trump. And now I've been to Spain. Um, was very fortunate to go there. Love it. Absolutely love Santiago de Compostela. Love Rota, Spain. Just love the beach. Had a great time. Of course, we lived in Europe for many years. My husband was in the military, and um, you know, took advantage of being over there. Went to Gibraltar. You have to go to Spain, then to hop over to Gibraltar, which England controls Gibraltar, which is the entrance into the Mediterranean. Um, it just really fascinating. I've put up pictures of Richard at all these places, and we were so fortunate to be able to homeschool so that we could do these things. And of course, with Ryanair was so cheap. You could fly, the six of us for like €6, maybe €12 if you wanted one bag or something. I mean, it was so cheap. We didn't even take bags with us besides our backpacks, right? We just went cheap. And it was just amazing, amazing to see everything. So, yeah, Mexico, and that is important because then you can understand the relationships between the countries and why they might be doing certain things, right? So it is very relevant, and the pursuit of justice, right? You don't want to get too frustrated. You want to stay pretty calm and keep pressing and keep investigating and keep pressing and keep documenting. And, you know, so I think that helps. Um, yeah, I don't know if he is, but if he is, that would explain everything. Um, wow. That is amazing. Then he's Mormon Mafia if he is. I don't know. I mean, I want to believe you. I want to believe you, but I always have to double check and confirm everything, right? Um, yeah. I have some information about Fort Bliss and how crooked and corrupt they are, as they are attempting to silence me and kick me out as fast as they can when I fully separate at the end of this month. Zach Johnson. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm bringing it to the news. Thank you. But watch out. We are the news. We don't bring it to don't bring it to Al Diario, okay? You don't want to bring it to El Paso Matters. You don't want to bring it to KTSM. You don't want to bring it to um, uh, really those are the main ones. I don't want to talk bad even though they're not too swift, but anyway, you have to be very careful because this Mormon mafia has a huge reach. They have a huge reach. So he is a sergeant at Fort Bliss. Okay. Look for Luis Gonzalez, aka Churros. When I was 12, I sold him. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I don't know about that. Yes. Greg Abbott's aunt is my grandmother. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I'm willing to bet money General Taylor is on the payroll. Oh, General Taylor is absolutely criminal, y'all. He is treasonous. So was Eisenhower. So was Sean Bernabe. I'm totally backing you up, Zach, on that one. Absolutely. Um, yeah. I don't know if I guess it's a religion. I think it's just money. They just serve money. They don't care about anything else, but it's money and power, money and power. Um, okay, I'm still I got traumatized when I saw churros bend down. Okay, 2 years ago. Let me see. I'm just reading through these comments, y'all. Zach Johnson on. Yeah, well, we know that the DES Thomas Kane um, confessed that General James Eisenhower, not spelled with an E, spelled with an I, um, gave an illegal order to have the arms room where Richard, his life was taken, to have it fully renovated with no expenses spared and not going through any kind of protocol, just renovate it quick, and use whatever money you needed, right? So this was a huge confirmation that um, th- that there is like a mutiny, that there is generals, and we know with Sean Bernabe um, that they're up to no good, and they need to be. I heard that Gitmo is like been tripled the size, so maybe President Trump is getting ready to have um, these court martials. You know, he needs to because there's a lot of really bad actors. But at the same time, um, you know, yeah, it's going to be interesting how it all happens because this has been festering for so long, and it's it has a far reach. That's what I'm telling you. It has a far reach. I mean, if Mauro Campos is going to London, just think, I mean, there's a whole group out there that say, the real Mormon faction is right there in London. Okay. So the city of London, right? The city of London. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. I think that was huge news today. And I just want to say, please share. Thank you for coming on and share some more and then share again and even sign Richard's petition. That would be so helpful. And yeah, we are moving forward. It's everything is coming out. And today also was confirmation that President Trump, if anyone says Maru to him, he's going to say, Maru, who? Who's that? She is on her own and she does not have any support, neither from President Sheinbaum nor from President Trump. And that means that she's going to jail. Really. I think Maru Campos needs to read the writing on the wall. But she will probably try to deceive until the end, right? Be her deceptive self until the end. So Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.